My name is Michelle Kelsey, and I am the General Manager for Space Theory, and just wanted to say a big thank you for joining us today. This is a subject that we're extremely passionate about because we believe very much that it should be easier, more transparent, and much simpler to get to an excellent result with the Performance Kitchen. So, and we're also really excited to be joining you in LA because we will be opening up a showroom this September in LA. So we're excited to, be more a part of the community and really get more of an opportunity to engage with all of you. So now I'd like to introduce to you Seth Tucker, who will be presenting today. And Seth is a real passionate advocate of creating environments that really elevate the quality of living within the home. He has over 11 years experience in industrial design, focusing on products and furniture for home environments. Seth has designed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kitchens, as well as the products that make them really uniquely functional. Seth's current role is product manager and lead designer for Space Theory Kitchens. And just so everyone knows that we are part of the Henrybuilt family. So we are a Henrybuilt company. So anyway, I will turn it over to you, Seth, to take it away.
Thanks, Michelle. Excited to be presenting this to everyone here. And with that, let's just get right on in. So today we're going to be talking about an easier path to a great kitchen using kitchen systems to design great kitchen spaces. So let's first start off with talking about what is a kitchen system. So a kitchen system is a complete solution. A system kitchen is based on systems thinking, which means each part is designed to interrelate with each other to bring unique functionality and a refinement of detail that can only come from a holistic design approach. So what that means is, so really what does that mean? Let's look at this image, and also here, the kitchen behind me, it's the same image, same spot. What do you see? Some nice modern cabinets. But here's the thing. What you don't see is all the industrial design and product engineering behind each product that's behind me that create the relationships across the system. In this instance, which is throughout a whole kitchen system, the whole is much greater than the sum of the parts, which means that there's no guessing about the result. It's guaranteed, which means it's built into the product. Everything relates, everything comes together, to create a beautiful space. So the big picture about this is, how does a kitchen system simplify kitchen design? So when the interrelationships are designed, it means you can focus in on the relationships between the product and the architecture. So, in a kitchen system, drawer alignments are consistent. Corner conditions are thought through, so how things relate and come together in a corner. Countertops are pre-aligned in relationship to boxes, and end panels and fronts and all the other surrounding elements are also aligned and thought through of how they come together. This also means that pole relationships and pole locations are, relate to these other elements such as countertops and end panels. And also lighting is integrated and reveals the space between the units are also set. So, this is all built into the system and there's no need to have to specify it. So that's, a big benefit and a time savings. The other thing is that the interrelationship of products also create a connection between the use and the function. So, is the item that you want to use at the place you want to use it or need it? A good kitchen system creates that connection. It creates that bridge between, product and user and how it's going to be used. It supports the functional interconnectivity where components are designed to be interchangeable and multi-use. Items can go from one place to another or be, specific or change as the time goes on. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But a well thought out kitchen system has a strong industrial design focus. So it's focused on, treating each unit as a separate product with a separate focus on form and function. Products are designed and based on an interaction with the end user. So how the end user is going to use that product and how they relate physically with the surrounding products within the system. So, both as the product and its intended use and its relationship with surrounding kitchen products and surrounding appliances. Really, the focus of the design of the product and the system is to focus on what's happening and surrounding around it. So, why is this important? Why are these simplifications important? What it means is that it allows you to focus on how your client is going to interact with the space and the dynamic workflows that support it, which in turn creates, a lasting impact on how the client's lifestyle and, even a long-term client satisfaction with how they're going to work in the space. So it also gives you, as the designer, more creative freedom because the foundational base is set. So, it's a foundational base to build off of, and, the design of the kitchen system is built into the system. So for example, in this kitchen, the foundational support is provided by our space theory system, and the distinctive detailing in the steel island and the millwork surrounding and the details of the walls surrounding the kitchen create a unique integration with the architecture of the space. So in this space, here's another view of it. You see that the kitchen system acted as a base for the architect and contractor to fit the kitchen into the space. But the architecture surrounding it was detailed, specific by the architect, to satisfy the design needs of the client. But if you look at this image here, you can kind of see there's some end panels or wrap panels that are going around. Everything that's inside of that is detailed to space theory standards that they didn't have to worry about it. The outside of it was, the architect could focus on the outside of the kitchen. So with all of this, you may be asking yourself, what is the design process of a new kitchen system product that kitchen system companies use? Or how, what is that process? So I'm going to use OpenCase, one of our products in our system, as a case study to talk really briefly about this. So what we found is that we had a functional need to fill between, base tall wall products that would span multiple areas, be able to have flexible storage that you could, move, change, and differentiate over time, and also activating that space so that it's additional storage and additional use over time. We also were looking for something that fit aesthetically within the system, but would also provide an alternative to open storage or even just another storage option for clients. The other thing we wanted to focus on was products that would be able to move and adapt, as clients go along, so that we can, focus on the product and how, it relates specific to the client's needs. So with that, we developed our OpenCase system, which is a simple grid-based panel system that activates walls, backsplash, drop zones, those areas that are kind of in between the standard base and tall zones, so that there's more storage space. Things can be, modular and change over time. And it creates that flexibility that we were looking for, but also an evolution for the client too, to kind of think about how they're going to use the space over time. So, as shown here, the product can change as the needs change, whether it's daily, such as changing a drop zone from, putting your coats and hats and scarves in that area, to a a setup for an evening party or a dinner, having people come in and maybe serving in that zone. Or another thing is, children get older and the client starts to become an empty nester, changing that area from a homework station where the kid is going to be working to a library or even a wine cellar or wine bar, fitting to more of what they need at the time. So the other thing that the OpenCase product does is it also takes advantage of that vertical space between the countertop and any wall or any storage above. So it keeps the countertops clear for work, while also keeping the items that you need really close at hand. One thing here that's really great is the storage tray. How it relates is that you can store items underneath the counter, and then when you need them, take them and put them up on the wall directly so you have direct access. So that was that flexibility we were looking for with the client, trying to fulfill the systems thinking to allow the client to have that flexibility and functionality where they need it the most. So the question after talking about all of this, they may be asking yourself, okay, how do I start designing with a kitchen system? So let's get into some of the nuts and bolts of how a kitchen system approach to design and planning makes the design process simpler and allows more creative freedom, which in turn, is by letting the system work for you. So, first off, you can use the design sequencing that we are going to talk through really briefly as a guiding checklist for completion, using these check marks to be able to make sure you're hitting each, stage and understanding how a client needs to get the project ready for production. So the other thing, and we're going to talk more about this, is creating kitchen zones and dynamic workflow for the client. Talking through that with the client is going to help them understand how things are going to relate and how they're going to work better for them in the space. It's making sure that the right product is in the right place for that particular client. We're also going to talk briefly about seamless appliance integration, how appliances relate directly to the kitchen system and how it all comes together to form a very unique and holistic whole, as well as taking all of this and making it easier, faster, simpler for installation and clearer for the installer and the contractor that's going to be installing the product. So I'm sure you're really familiar with the basic process of planning and putting a kitchen or designing a kitchen with a space. But when you're working with a well-designed kitchen system, your design can stay at a higher level because the details are inherent of the system. So the details are built into the system, so you don't have to worry about all of those fine-tuned details as it's ingrained in the system itself. So the first step is defining the scope, which can be challenging in determining which part of the system and which should be part of the system and what should be millwork. The kitchen is often the dominant factor when it comes to providing a cohesive solution. It's good to define the relating areas up front, such as the dining room, an adjacent bathroom or bathrooms, and an entry, to really simplify the design process and understand what is going to be in each scope relative to the space. Next, you'll want to start to think through the plan by starting, schematically laying out the space with respective zones. This is what we recommend, but also, as a system, you want to start thinking about where the base units are, where the tall units are, but also thinking about that in relationship to the zones. So clean, prep, store. We're going to talk more about that briefly, but when you're starting to think about all of those items together, you want to think about them schematically, but then, start thinking about those zones and then applying the individual product into the zones. It makes it easy in a kitchen system to start thinking through it that way. And then last, you can apply materials to those specific zones. So, for example, when you start to apply the product, you can apply, okay, this is going to be veneer, this is going to be laminate, this is going to be these other materials. And then last in the planning sequence is order, which is really simple in a kitchen system, as the kitchen system company should manage all the details. So they're the ones creating the shops. They're the ones creating all of the details for the client. So that is something you don't have to worry about. And last is install, which we'll talk about more here in a second. So let's dive in really quickly on zones in the kitchen and how it relates to a kitchen system. So, the next step in that process that we're talking about is creating a dynamic workflow with kitchen zones. And it's a great way to communicate with clients. And when using a system, creating zones allows you to define an area and then choose the most appropriate product for that area. A system will generally define their product by the zone and making it simpler for you to specify. So what it does is it helps the client understand how things are going to work, and it also helps them utilize the space efficiently. So it supports that workflow of moving things between spaces. It also helps clients understand and plan the kitchen too. This is where I'm going to cook. This is where I'm going to chop all my veggies. This is where I'm going to, wash things. Those main zones, the clean, store, prep, and cook, typically are used in that work triangle. And one thing, just as a recommendation that we find, is that you want to keep that zone within 20 feet maximum between all of the spaces, but no more than 3 feet in between each. No less than 3 feet in between each, sorry. So that it's efficient and you have enough space for everyone to work in. So just briefly running through each zone so you can kind of gain an understanding of how those zones relate to the kitchen system. During the stage of prep, the most important part is to define where the clients are going to clean in relationship to storing the dishes, kitchen utensils, those items. When you take something directly from the clean zone, where is it going to be put away? How far away is that? How far do you need to move to put it away? What are adjacent? We typically recommend that at a sink, for example, that you put a trash unit and a dishwasher directly adjacent, just so that when you're cleaning or washing dishes, it's easy to do in a sequence between the zones, between those areas. So the next area that I want to talk about is the storing zone. And what we're finding there is that there's a more emphasis right now in keeping wall storage minimal, while also using base storage for everything from dishes to glasses to food. And what's great is that this takes a lot of those elements that are up above and puts them down below for easy access. But that also takes some careful zone planning to create those simplified workflows. So when you're thinking about it, storing food may have a different pattern and frequency than storing, let's say, dishes or glasses. And so the relationship to the additional areas or the other areas is kind of critical to make sure that you're understanding. So for example, if you're storing, let's say, cold food in a refrigerator, you may need to have 2 access points, one for cold food prep or one for easy access for, let's say, the family for a self-service station, for drinks or snacks. So it's good to start thinking about those things in relationship with other zones like prep. So prep areas should relate to storing, cleaning, and cooking. So, things are in the zone right where they need it. So for instance, you may take vegetables from your sink and out of the refrigerator and then clean them in the sink and then prep them for the cooktop. So it's good to start thinking about maybe you need some storage at the prep zone for dedicated knives, forks, spoons, utensils, or right adjacent to a sink so that you have easy access to those things. When you think about those things, you want to make sure you want to complete the triangle itself. And then the last one is cook, which may be in one of two areas or in consolidated into one. When the cooktop and oven are separate, so if you have a wall oven in an adjacent zone or a cooktop, the cooktop should be closer to the prep zone, and the oven can be a little bit farther away because it doesn't require as much attention, so you're not running to it as much. But it's good to keep that cooktop close to the prep zones because you're going to be transferring vegetables, fish, meats, all those kind of things really quickly and easily to that. So that's what you would want to be looking for in a cook zone. So then this gets us to appliance integration. And I know you all know this, appliances can be the trickiest part of kitchen design in terms of integration and fit and finish. And by starting off with a kitchen system, most will have their recommended appliance list that they know work well and integrate seamlessly with their product. This is important in terms of alignment and flushness and reveals, making sure that they'll all understand which products work the best to create that fit and finish that you're looking for. So here we have two kind of images. One on the left shows the kind of a semi-integrated installation where the refrigerator and the range are more exposed. The one on the right shows everything where it's fully integrated. It's fully inset, it's fully hidden behind the items that are around it. These two elements, are there's different ways to approach each of them, and the kitchen system will help you be able to figure out which way is going to be the easiest and cleanest for what the clients are trying to go for. So again, same thing, the kitchen system is going to help you in this instance, make it simple for the client and simple for you to help detail it. So once everything's, you've figured out where everything's going, you've got all of your appliances and materials selected, then you're ready to put the project into production. What this does with a kitchen system is it means that there's an elimination of the shop drawings. That responsibility will fall on the kitchen system as they control the details. They're going to know how all of these things relate and how it all comes together. So those are things you don't have to worry about, which is really great. Also, appliance details are going to be checked and vetted to make sure that everything is going to fit and work based off of your design intent. So there's no need to check cut sheets or understand how things are going to fit or relate. Those things are the kitchen system company is going to help you understand the relationship to their product and how to fit it in a nice correct way. They're also going to check to make sure that everything that you're designing or everything that's going to go in the kitchen is going to fit in the kitchen, and make sure that there's no issues with surrounding architecture or surrounding product that you're going to be putting in. And then, once they checked everything, it's ready to go in, and there's a standard lead time. And what that means is, everything is not going to come kind of piecemeal. It's going to come as one shipment. It's going to be ready to go when it arrives on site for installation, which is really great because that means it's simple for the installer to have everything right there, right when you need it. One thing to point out too is that based off of appliances, those are shipped separately, and can come later. So everything will be ready and set and installed when those things come. The other thing is that when we put it into production, when kitchen systems put it into production, everything is produced at the same time. So there's a consistency and of quality across the board in terms of veneer and additional product. Everything is quality and consistent across the board. So what does this all mean for installation once you get the product on site? Well, what it means is a kitchen system is going to have all the parts come together, connect simply and easily. That's designed in the system. With my industrial design background, as I'm designing new product, I'm thinking about how the installer or how someone is going to connect this all together and make sure that it comes together seamlessly and easy so that it looks like, it was a really awesome installation. So, there's going to be also flexibility built into the design and flex points that are built into the system. For example, here at Space Theory, we provide all of our panels that meet up with architecture oversized. So what that means is you can cut them down or scribe them down on site so that everything can be really tight and fit together really well. What this also means is that it takes into account any unexpected fluctuations or details that happen on site that you may not be aware of. Since we provide those things oversized, what that means is that they're not gonna, you're gonna be able to account for that, which in the end, with all this, leads to a higher quality result. Means that, the details are baked into the system. Those details, you don't have to worry about with different trades coming together. It's all coming together in one system. It's all there. That also means a higher quality installation because the installation sequence is simple. and things fit together nicely, and there's not a lot of customization or modification that happens on site. So what does this all mean? Been talking really quickly here to get to this point. What does this all mean? It means freedom for creativity. The details have been designed, the foundation is complete, relationships have been thought through and thought out so that you can focus on the architectural relationships of the kitchen and the surrounding areas. So you can focus in on how things outside of that scope are going to relate to that scope. And the other great thing is design integrity runs throughout the system. So it's not going to be distilled down by other trades or other people are going to change it on site. It's built into the system, so you don't have to really worry about that. And you can focus all of your time on those areas that are outside, that are going to be in other cool areas that the clients are going to be able to notice. So what does this mean for the future of designing with the system? So what we have done and what we saw the opportunity to do is design our own software in-house called what we're calling the design engine to create all of these interrelationships and help make it easier to get to an end result. So the design engine is this sophisticated tool that allows this configuration of a space theory kitchen and puts it into your hands. We currently are using it internally, but also are allowing architects to work with it and are looking for feedback because we're still in the development stages. But what I thought would be great is to be able to show you today how the design engine works and kind of walk through you how the design engine has been laid out. So it follows some of those same principles that we were talking about previously about making decisions at the right time. So with that, here's a brief preview, and I'm going to switch my screen. So first, when you log in to our design engine, you'll be greeted by a My Projects bar. Here it outlines all the available projects. I kind of have quite a few just because of where we're working, but the great thing about this is that it will start to outline where your projects are. So currently I have a lot of projects in design, but there's also some that are awaiting review and some that need some action required. So here, when you get into the first screen, it shows all the projects that you're working on. So I'm going to create a new space theory project. I actually created one for us here to start off with. So, just briefly, how we've designed this here is, like I was mentioning before, a step-by-step approach so that it's clean and easy for you to understand how to get from the start of a project to the end of a project. So when you first create a new project, you're asked to enter in the project information here, which outlines where the project is going, who the project is for, and who could potentially be a delivery contact for the project on site. Before I move on, I'm going to just talk really briefly about the bar up here. So this at left here, that takes you back to my projects. We can also share the project with other people. So if they have design engine access, you can share that project directly with the client. And then this right here is our drawings portion. So we'll get to this and we'll be able to show you this, but when your design is complete or ready to produce, or even just when you're wanting to send it to the client, you can actually use this drawings button and it'll print off the drawings for you. Similarly, as we're going along, it's generating an invoice. So in real time, you can actually see how much the project is accruing in terms of project value and how much the project is actually costing. And then also up here in this corner over here, as we're adding product, it's going to be actually a running tally of what the overall cost is. And it also gives you an idea, if you were to wrap everything up by this week or the week that you're working in, gives you the earliest delivery date that you can actually schedule. So what this does is keeps you really well informed about what's going on in the project and how much it's costing and when we can have it delivered. And then last, which is the main part I wanted to show, is the progress bar. So as you can see, there's a bunch of different steps in the progress of laying out a kitchen for you. So the first part is here where we're at, which is the project information, entering that project information in. The next step in the process is doing the layout. So that's what we're going to talk mainly about, is how to do the layout and really cool elements that are a part of that. And then once the layout happens, once you're ready to put it into production, that layout is going to be reviewed by one of our engineering team to make sure that everything is going to fit, like what we're talking about. Everything is going to work. There's no questions, that our production team can produce the actual project. And then once you get past that layout review, then you'll be able to approve and sign the drawings once it's approved. So you can see how it's kind of grayed out. It'll, each step will become available when it's available. So you can approve and sign. The next part is we'll collect the deposit and then put it into production. And then this will allow you to see where it is in every step and when it's ready to ship, and the delivery information that's needed, or installation information when you need to receive it on time. So with that, let's go in and start in on a layout. So what we've done is we've actually built up 2 ways to get started. One is to create a blank slate. So if you have an actual project that has specific walls and windows and all that, you can use the blank slate function to be able to start drawing your space. The next, or you could use one of our predetermined layouts. So these layouts have basically everything, including the kitchen sink, available to you. So they, you can go through and get started. We have them divided up into different sizes, so you can kind of gauge an understanding of how you can start moving things around, changing things in the project to make it sized for you, or just getting a general idea of how much things are going to cost. Is these are a great way to start. But just for the purpose of today, I'm just going to get going on the blank slate side. So I have my dimensions and I'm ready to have some fun. So another great thing is that we've divided it up so you can create different floors in the project. So let's say you have an ADU or a basement style kitchen. You can use it as an ADU, title that, and then a main kitchen on the main floor. You can have a separate floor like that. So for purposes today, I'm going to just say main floor. The title of the room on this floor is kitchen. And if you have a background drawing, like for the project, you can use that as a way to trace your walls. So you can upload a DXF here to use as a background to trace from. So it's really great if you already have walls predetermined, you can just drop that in and start going. So I'm going to add that floor. And then we have our drawing template, or drawing starting place. So just a couple other things to show here is that over here on the left, this will be our properties bar. You'll start to notice that as I start adding things or changing things, there's going to be a lot of options that pop up over here. So that's what's happening over here. Up here at the top, that's our zoom function. One thing to point out is that we recommend doing this on an actual PC or a Mac or PC. Just because it works best on an actual computer platform. Also, with that, we recommend using it with a mouse because it's easy to use to zoom in and out. So, those are just 2 things to think about when you're using it. But start drawing here. So you can see as I start drawing, it acts very similar to AutoCAD or just the other 2D drawing programs out there. We can start drawing in walls. So let's say I have a 150-inch wall here. I can either drag it or I can type it in. Similarly, I can say I have a weird wall over here that's 200.5 inches. I can actually type that in as a fraction or a decimal, which is really great. So you can kind of get accurate that way. Right now, everything is in inches format, but we're working on developing it so that we can add potentially feet and inches. So it's even easier to start adding those items. So you can, draw the space. You don't have to do just a rectangle. You can add spaces here. Let's say you have an opening that goes into a living room. To create the walls in our product, you actually have to create a closed polygon. So here I am actually hitting down Alt, which creates what we call a false wall to create that closed. Oops, didn't do it. You have to hit down Alt and then use that to create a false wall. So what I have here, let's say this is a kitchen and then there's an additional living room right here. Once you lay this all down, you can actually adjust as you need if you want, but it's good just to start off fresh. So once I've done that, I can immediately go to the front view, and up here in the top left, it shows you actually where you are in the room in relationship to the elevation. So you can start going through, cycling through elevations. Let's say I want to update or change all the wall heights at the same time. I can use this. It goes to 96. Let's say, or if you have a vaulted ceiling or some ceiling condition that changes, you can actually move these things around or add additional points in to create your ceiling condition, which is pretty great. Once you've determined where you're at and what you need to add or change, I can cycle through walls. I can change them if I need to. I'm just going to keep it the way it is for our purposes today. Then you can move on to the next step, kind of that sequential item that we were talking about before, and add doors and windows. So let's click on that. So that'll open up that property bar I was talking about. And you can cycle between either top view or front view when you're adding these. I like to add them in top view because I always think of plan and adding things in plan. So here you can add in doors. Let's say there's a door here on this elevation. Say it's a 32-inch wide door. Can start modifying and changing these dimensions. I can change the trim, this to be, let's say it's a really narrow trim. So everything is 2 inches. So you can see how easy it is to start adding these items in here into the space. I can also, if I know the dimension here, I can also change this. Let's say, oh, actually from trim to trim, it's actually going to be 38 inches. So, I can modify that, place it here where I need it to be. And then when I go into the front view here on that elevation, it's already added that doorway in. I don't like it how it's hinging, so I'm going to change it to the right hinge. So you can see how easy it is to start adding things in. Same with windows. I can drag and drop the windows in here. Oops, moved way too far forward. Got a little click happy there. So let's update this in elevation view. I can move it over 20 inches. I can update the width. Really everything here is to be able to get an understanding of what's going on in the space so that you can start applying the product. So once I start applying the product, once I've figured out where all the windows and doors are, then I can start adding in the products. So this is how we've had this structured, is following with what we were talking about in the presentation, where we want to start thinking things through schematically, where base units are going to go, where tall units are going to go, how all of this stuff is going to relate to the space. So what's great is I can just start dragging and dropping these elements in. So here I've added some base units. I can drag and drop those all the way across. So you'll notice that these items here are starting to appear. What those are those filler spots, those flexibility points that I was talking about earlier that are automatically being generated into the drawing. So these are things you don't have to worry about. So for example, when this ends up against a wall, we have what we call scribe material. So that's that flex zone that we have between walls, because as we all know, not all walls are plumb and true. That's that space that allows for that flexibility. So those will automatically turn on. Here there's like an end panel here. I can turn that off because I don't need an end panel when it's up against a wall. The cabinetry can just go directly up against it. Similarly here, I want to pull that off because I'm going to put a tall elevation over here. So let's say that this is where some tall elements are going to go. I can update the depth and throw that in here. Same thing here, as I was talking about before, when you start getting into these tall zones here, it automatically knows that this is a corner and it's going to update it for you. So same thing, I'm going to turn this end panel off because you don't need it. And then another thing too, as I'm laying this out, I realized that this would be a great spot for an island. So I'm going to add in an island here. And I'm going to turn it this way because this seems like a really nice way to fit in an island here. Let's say that there's another, I haven't added it in, but maybe there's a beautiful view here out to some beautiful San Juan Islands. So we will add that in. And similarly, if there's a beautiful view here, maybe there wants to be seating on the backside. So I'm going to add some island seating in here. And I can change and turn this, like I was talking about before. When we place it up against each other, so here I'm putting his seating right next to this zone, it snapped together. So it created that end panel here between the two zones. So it's taking that smart thinking and actually applying it to the overall space. So what it's done now is merged everything and created one individual island. And similarly too, I can update this width. In here in that properties bar, I can change the seating's depth to, let's say, 10 inches. So I have enough space here for a chase behind. On the backside, I can also move it closer if I need to. So it's backed directly up against that. So you can see how you can start having fun and playing around with the space and start to think things through schematically here in this first part of the design phase. So once I am ready, I can move on to the front view here, which all those schematic zones that I was talking about, or what we call containers, now house all the products that you can put in those zones. So here I'm going to go through and add some additional items, but I'm going to go through and fix this space because it's bothering me right now. So I'm going to update this. Let's say it's floor to ceiling storage. Same thing, it detects the ceiling, can change some of the properties. It doesn't need a top cap because it doesn't need to relate. It doesn't need a right end panel because there's nothing there to relate to. So it's starting to refine those details that I was talking about before. And then additionally updating here in section, so you can see how it's relating to the base units. So let's start adding some product. Here I can add double trash. Let's say this is going to be a space for a sink. So I can type in here trash and search and add that in. And then I can add in a sink. So here's our sink unit. Same thing, just drag and drop it into the space, realizing, hey, I want that centered along this window. It automatically detects the center of the window for you. So, you can start playing around with this and sizes and available options for all of those products. Similarly here, when I start doing dishwasher, and this is another great thing about simplifying the use of this. So I want to use a standard size dishwasher. So it's dimensioning it based off of what we know for the design of dishwashers. And it's also allowing you here to select the actual model number of the brand itself. So here we have all the available Miele dishwashers that we know currently. And as you know, dishwashers and model numbers change all the time. So we're continually updating this, but you can select that right here. So it's really great so that when you're doing the drawings that it's already pre-specified. So then let's say you have the design, there's lots of other things you can do. You can start adding wall units here. Similarly, you can add open case panels to the backsplash, which are pretty cool too, because you can get that here. I'm just doing this quickly because I get so excited. I have lost a little bit of track of time and I have some other things I want to talk to you guys about. So you can start adding those elements. Similarly, you can start adding in those, that wine rack here or the metal shelf and adjust it based off of what you want for your space. So let's say you've laid out your design here, you're ready to move on to the next step. Then we want to talk about accessories. So these are the available inserts that go with each drawer. So we have a really great accessories guide that outlines what's available in each option here. So when you click that, it opens up a new window and talks through all the available options. So you can add any of those options to your order. Let's say I'm going to add that. We also include one set, the stainless and wood bundle insert for clients as a gift, so that everyone can get started on their organizing their space. But last part of the process is, like I was talking about, applying those materials. So here, like we were talking about earlier with the plans, we already have some predetermined themes that you can go with for the overall project. So if you already know that the clients really like some black and white, we already have a predetermined layout here so that you can go through and select it. So here's just a brief image. Here are the materials. If you want to use that, you can just apply it to the whole project, or you can even get down into the nitty-gritty and start applying the specific materials to this project. So here I can change the front material to any one of our laminates or any one of our additional veneer options. Same thing with all of the other units. You can update those and change those as you need. And the last two things I'm going to show, and then we're going to open it up for some questions. I know that we may have some questions about all of this, is talking through the drawings here. So fortunately, I need to move the bar here. I'm going to close this window because I can see it here. So when you're ready, you can do the itemized invoice, or even have the drawings prepared here. So I apologize, it's for some reason. There we go. So here's that itemized invoice that I was talking about. It's outlining everything that we were showing here, as well as that standard insert bundle that I added to the order. So at the end, it gives you an estimation of the product and shipping, delivery, tax. It's all there for you, including how much the client would need to for the project to go into production. And last, looks like it's not popping up, but there would also be the drawing set that would relate to that as well. So there's with the invoice, there's a drawing set that's itemized and shows each individual unit number that's associated with that. So yeah, so there we go. Oh, now it went away. Maybe my internet connection right now, I apologize. I have a lot of people working on this internet connection, but with that, I think it would be good to, we have 10 minutes left. I think it would be great to open it up to some questions. Here we go. Right when I said that, here it shows that plan view. We also have, just some information about largest items that are going to be fitting into the space. And as I was talking about before, that itemized list here, because it's not fully complete, there's not products here, but those would show up as well. So you can kind of see how easy it is to get to this point. At 10 minutes, I already have a kitchen and drawings ready to go into production. So with that, I'm going to open it up and ask Michelle if there's any questions that I need to help answer.
Yes. What is the system made of?
What is the system made of? So all of our, yeah. So all of our products are made with high quality plywood, so 3/4 inch thick plywood. So all of our box parts are made with that. It has a technical laminate on the inside, or veneer as well, depending on how you want to structure that. So all of that, like I was pointing out here in terms of materials, we have a wide array of materials, but the boxes themselves are doweled and screwed together, so they're really high quality. The products are really high quality. All of our drawers are powder coated soft close drawer slides. Similarly, all of our doors are soft close doors. We have, a wide array of options in terms of flip ups and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of our veneer, it's all solid wood veneer for all of our veneer options. The finish, and this is what I would say, which is really awesome about our finish, is we use a 2K polyurethane finish, which is almost like an aerospace quality finish. And the beauty of it is it's flexible. So what that means is that if something were to drop or dent or do that, it actually bends with the product itself, so it doesn't crack or change. It's also fully cured when it arrives on site, so there's no off-gassing or anything like that. Could go into a lot of detail here if you wanted, but those are just some high-level things to talk through. Great question.
Yeah, just to emphasize the construction, the 3/4 inch ply, the ply is actually North American, and we source it to our specification. So it's really, really incredibly durable. And the boxes are 3/4 inch ply all the way around, including the backs. So, the product durability is just really incredible. It's meant to last. Okay, how is the upper shelving system supported with pegs and posts, rear support systems? Are you talking?
Yeah, our open case. So 2 things, I'll answer 2 questions with that. One, just our wall units. And that's, if you look over here, those are those units in that corner. Those are supported on a French cleat system. So there's a recessed French cleat in all of the backs of our units. So, ease of installation. It's you can span or run one long cleat and then hang everything on that. Similarly, our open case system is using a cleating structure currently. We are actually in the process of developing a new system on the back end that we'll be releasing here probably by the next few months, where it's just a press fit. It'll just, you can screw a panel directly on the wall and then press the actual panel itself, or adjust the panel directly onto that kind of skim coat panel behind. So it's going to be really awesome to make it a lot easier. These are the things that I was talking about in the presentation, where we're focused on making it easier and cleaner of an install to make it easier for a higher quality result for the end. So right now it's on cleats, a French cleat structure, but it's eventually going to change and move here in the next few months. Good question.
Yeah, so we had another question about cabinet pulls, and I'll take this one, Seth, if you don't mind. Okay. So yeah. Our cabinet pulls are actually provided with the system. They're just part of the project. You're also welcome to use your own pulls. And there are some special benefits when your trade. We give a discount if you decide not to use our pulls. We also offer at a different grade all the Henrybuilt finishes that are available on oak and walnut with Space Theory. So Space Theory has 5 standard finishes on walnut or oak veneer. When we open it up to Henrybuilt, we have about, I think it's 23. So that really, really brings it up. Okay, do you provide installation services as well? Seth, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so we don't provide installation services. We don't come and actually install the product. We do provide installation support through both a really detailed installation guide as well as direct installation support. You can call us or email us and we'll help guide the installer through installing the product. The reason why we do that is because you and the contractor will have I guess jurisdiction, or you're the ones working on the project. They're making the changes on site, so they're best to know what's going on and how to the dimensions and everything that's happening on site. So that's why we provide it on site is for installation, is because it's simple and easy to install, and the contractor or the installer has more control of the site than we do. So hopefully that helps answer that.
Yeah, just to add to that, our product ships fully assembled. So even the pulls are installed. So we do try to keep it as simple as possible. We also have an ongoing project called the Self-Installing Product Project. And so what we try to do is make sure that we actually go through with the installer as Seth said, installation instructions, simplified installation instructions, but we also put the installation instructions on every component that comes. So we try to make it basically foolproof. So it becomes a much quicker installation. Can the system be used for other spaces than kitchens? Absolutely. You can apply our product wherever it starts to make sense. And we see this happening a lot in adjacent areas, like Seth was mentioning in his presentation, like it might be vanities in the bathroom. We do have a vanity program. We have, there's lots of kind of in-between spaces where people use the product, especially in like dining rooms. You might want to create like a little buffet area, or it might be lots of shelving, so maybe floating shelves in a living room area. So all of that product can be applied in many parts of the house. Let me see here. Can the long and short wall studs be changed or swapped between long and short? Is that, I'm assuming, on the open case?
Yeah, so that's the beauty of the open case system, is that, so you can see behind me, those are all points that we can actually have within that structure right here. And I apologize for not clarifying this during my presentation, but those are areas that the what we call rods, those are the things that hold the shelf up. Those can interchange, and they can actually twist off and twist onto the actual points here. So these are what we call deco caps, which cover that actual structure behind. So you can just unscrew it, screw in the rod that you want, or structure that you want, and then put the shelf or the wine rack or whatever that wants to go on that particular portion. So that's the idea of open case, was to keep it super flexible and easy to change in and out between the two spaces.
Okay, next question. What are the weight limits for open upper shelving?
So, that in particular, we have a structure underneath that, a steel structure that mounts directly into studs in the walls. So it's dependent on, what you're going into. So it's hard to answer with an exact number depending on what you're actually going into. But what I can tell you is, in terms of construction, that's a steel paddle that goes directly into what we prefer as blocking, continuous blocking across at a standard, over a standard width of the actual shelf. So, if you have something super secure that it's going into, which we recommend, then I would say that you can hold, books, it could be all the way across books, that kind of stuff. We don't have an exact weight limit just because of the multiple different substrates that it could potentially go into. But in terms of, you could definitely hold everything that you would need to on there specifically.
So the next question here is, what is the warranty on your products? And I'll take that one. It's 10 years. So we stand behind our products. Next question is, do you have retail stores, and where are they located? And is Henrybuilt your only millwork provider? So we are part of the Henrybuilt, company. So we're a separate company, but part of Henrybuilt. Our product is actually built by Henrybuilt at their production facility in Seattle. That's where I work out of, so does Seth. As far as retail stores, we have a showroom in Seattle, and we're opening a new showroom probably in September in the Arts District in LA. We'll also be opening showrooms this year in New York and in San Francisco. So we're growing like crazy, and it's very exciting.
Awesome.
Okay, another question.
Michelle, I just want to keep in terms of the time. It's 1 o'clock right now. So I don't know if we have to jump off, but just we can, I can stay on and help answer some additional questions if we need.
So one quick question: if a specific appliance is spec'd, do your drawings show the correct height or location of power utility wall location for rough-in for subs to work from?
So that would be something that you would want to talk with our team when you're talking directly, through the installation of the product. Typically, we defer directly to the appliance itself, since they're going to know the best, similar to what we were talking about before, The appliance and the contractor are going to know the best location for that. In particular, what we do in our drawings is we actually just show, similar to what we're showing here in these images. For example, this dishwasher, it'll look exactly like this. This is where the dishwasher will be located, and then you want to refer to the specification for that, on site in terms of location.
Okay, last question is we are thinking office or workshop spaces, and that's a great question because we do have a catalog that's ADA compliant, and we are actually working on a program for the office as well too. So that is something that is definitely in our future. And right now we can do design with ADA compliant product. So if you have a workspace or office project, we're happy to talk to you. Happy to help.
Awesome.
Right.
Well, I was just going to finish up with, if you have any questions, you can contact us. Here's Michelle Kelsey's contact information. It's hard to say with this two consonants together. Michelle at spacetheory.com or her direct number. Michelle, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing more than thank you very much for your time. And it's been a pleasure being able to, share what's going on with space theory and the design engine with you.